Om. 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 Om.
Om Pranam, Om Pranam, Om Pranam, Om. Om Pranam. Om Namo Bhagavate Satyadevaya. Whisper singing, Om, 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 infinite Shanti, Om, 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 Om. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Infinite Om. Infinite Om. Om. omniscience. Om God omniscience. Om God omnipotence. Om God omnipresence. Om. Om. God alone exists. God alone is reality. Om. God alone exists. God alone is reality. God alone exists. God alone is reality. I am God. I am God. I am God. Om. 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 God peace. Om. God respond. Om. God speaking to God about God. Om. God respond. Om. God speaking to God about God. What else is there? Ekam Jana Mudra. That's the Satya Mudra. That's divine knowledge of one, the only one, God. The one I, the true identity is God. There is no other I. One, capital I. So forgotten in the form of those that may seemingly not have absorbed the first God in the happening of Satyavatara. So forgotten in the form of those Satsangha. Please reference by scrolling down. And click and absorb in God consciousness so that there can be the God information taking effect. But first there is viewing this this God happening. The second God in the happening of Satyavatara, Satsangha. Om. Sasssv 2. Om. So, come on. So there may be taking what is called in happening of taking calls, calling in God in the form of Facebook, messengering, audio, and Facebook, God in the happening of texts, that may or may not occur with this broadcasting, transactioning, the God transmission. It may or may not commence with this. There is still some pertinent introductory information for those got in the form of those that have not, that are not familiar with the teachings of Satyavedism, the God and the happening of the scriptures, and the live stream teachings of Satya, and the many other forms. So this is still basically introductory material. And also to sort of familiarize, so that there is a free-flowing God transactioning of transmitting and receiving, of beginning to somehow or other have a feeling of familiarity, however that may play. So there is still some information that still has to be transacted, and then there will be maybe more seeming openness for the response to come. God, respond. It is only myself. It's God myself. Manifesting. Respond. But there is information. So here is some information, and this shall continue. So this is breaking into the regularly scheduled human cult programming with divine knowledge of self, what you truly are. And there is information that needs to be transmitted in what is called a description on God in the form of Facebook. And here, again, this is to reference here, for those that have not seen and absorbed the Satsangha 1. God in the happening of. God in the happening of. Get ho. Get ho. Get ho. God in the form of. God in the form of. Get fo. Get fo. Get turn. God eternity. Get turn. God eternity. Ginfini. God infinity. God infinity. God eternity, because there is only the eternal now. There is no past, there is no future. There is not even what is called a present. There is only the eternal now. God eternity. Getern. Ginfini. God infinity. There is no location. There are no countries. There are no cities. There are no places in God infinity. God infinity is Ginfini. Those are the beginner Godlang 101. So when there's reference to those the words that may not have been heard before, that is an explanation. That is an explanation. To turn this. That is an explanation. Great. All right. So in what is called a description, God in the form of a description of this, there are what are called links. Well, I'll just refer over to here. So the first reference link, God in the form of the first reference link, Gitfo, is a link to the Gitfo Satyavedism website, with copious teachings, much God information to be absorbed in God consciousness. The first link goes to what would be considered beginner information of the various beginning processes, just the very basics processes that would entail just the beginning of purification, because purification and deconstruction are of utmost importance, in order to realize God reality, So the first link, because many God in the form of seeming many apparent bodies are suffering in one way or another, or multiple ways. Usually multiple ways. And either that suffering is felt or it's repressed, but it manifests regardless, in one form or another, whether it's acknowledged or not. So if there are those that believe in being human, then for the most part there is going to be suffering in one or many forms. So this is the most succinct teaching, for it's almost preliminary. And at the bottom of it, it also explains that if there is serious suicidal ideation or very pronounced physical suffering, that there may have to be getting assistance for that directly first before going into the preliminary practices. So the first link is to SSSV 118, and it is entitled How to Begin to Stop Suffering Now in Eternity. So Satyavatara is here for many multitudinous reasons, to be seen and unseen, and known and not known yet in eternity. But one of the reasons is to cease the suffering. So this teaching is very important. This is SV 101 basically. This is incoming information. So click into that link and begin to absorb this information. This is basically for those, God in the form of those that are pleading for help. Basically, please help me. Please help me. Now, of course, that me that's being referred to is not the true God, I. That is not me. It is the me that is thought of, the pseudo-selfing. But the information is there to go into. Om. The second link is to the Panchavandanam. Om. The Panchavandanam is there are many teachings. There are 15 revelations, basically. Om. To begin the practice of the Panchavandanam. And it may seem at first to be a little complex, but in reality it comes down, it distills into something that is very simple. And there'll be many teachings about the Panchavandanam because it is the one so far obligatory ritual of Satyavedism. Om. And so this link clicks into a whole seeming subsection of God in the form of the web, the website, and many teachings are going to be additionally to be transmitted, and that link leads to all of those teachings. So this is necessary. This is a necessary next step to begin the many kriyas, the many activities, that are to transform the pseudo personality, and dissolve it with these processes. The third link goes to the live stream teachings. If there are any difficulties with the streaming, the Satsanga streaming, there should be commenting in so that there be knowing that. All right. So yes, so what is called the third link, God in the form of, goes to the live stream teachings that are transmitted and are live on the GIFO, God in the form of, the Satyavedism website. And these have live streams. There are 28 so far live streams in eternity, activating in God consciousness upon absorption. And the next link, number 4, is a list, the table of contents for all of those live stream teachings. All of the 28 live stream teachings. And these are very important. These are what may appear to be more formal teachings and introductory teachings. But all this is God information, God transmitting information. All the facade or the illusion of what would be aspectings of these. What is a live stream? It's not a live stream. It's a God transmission. And it's alive. It's real. It's alive. It's God information. There are no live streams that happened in the past. There are no live streams or Satsanghas that are happening in the future. It's all happening in God eternity now. So the referencing what may seem to be previous information is not real. It is not previous. There is no past. All of the God information that is transmitting and activating in God consciousness is activating now in God eternity. In other words, the God information is eternal, just as you are, just as God is. All is God. So all of this information is eternal, and it is not in any location, because this is God infinity. There has to be really absorbing this in God consciousness, because the whole seeming context completely becomes something else, becomes what God reality is. So there's no past, there are no past activities, there are no persons in the past, there is no past place that where a body used to live. There is that's where that is still there. It's still happening now. All of that seems to be in the past is happening. It's reverberating through God Omniverse now. So whatever relationships or relations to this, to that, or whatever that seem to have transpired at some other point in some linear, there is none. None of that is real. So when there's reference to the teachings are God, the teachings are eternal, the teachings are happening right now in eternity. Eternal. So these seeming what are called live stream teachings of SATYAVEDISM are eternal and right now, fresh to activate, freshly activating. And what is called repeating, or only once repeating is not real, because all is happening right now. So to even say, to try to absorb by repeating the teaching, by reabsorbing it, is that it's not nothing is redoing something. It's not it's happening right now. So just to absorb and absorb and absorb. This is why the language, it has to evolve, because all of the ways in which there is speech is that the relative language is broken. In God realization, all language falls apart. So in order to express reality, there has to be a way of evolving language. So one of the aspects of it's Gifo, God and the happening of Satyavedism is the evolution of language. So God Lang, Om. So there is, but in order to express this information, it is a form of what would be called English language, and God Lang, and with God and the mixture, and there will be God Lang in seeming other languages as well. So this list, this live list, this seeming table of contents, and all that, those nonsense words. This is a list of all of the live streams, living teachings. And there is are 28 introductory teachings. So the God manifesting is to familiarize and absorb in consciousness these teachings. If there is inclination toward more visual or auditory ways of absorbing, and for those, there should be absorbing in all forms, in text, in audio, in video, or seemingly all. But these are what would be more audio visual. And then 5 link the Satyavatara. The Satyavatara. That is included in the Panchavandanam, but is also there should be familiarity with the Satyavatara. Great familiarity. What would be repeat, even though it's not repeating. So if there is to be familiarity with this information, now that is a lot of God information. So there's knowing that it must be in seeming stages, God absorbed in God consciousness. So begin with link number 1, and begin those practices. If there is not familiarity with the what would be considered the basics. Now Satyavatara is going to go into and transmit. It's going to transmit much God information. So this is just a taste of it. So begin here. And then if there's wanting to ask about this, then this is where there's the opening up of God speaking to God about God, where there'll be questions about how this should be done. There'll be questions about the seeming details, the apparent details of how to begin these processes. So that is in what is called the description in this Satsangha. All right, so refer to that. Find that information, that important information in what is called the description below. And refer to the Satsangha 1 by scrolling down on the God Intel Tech. God in the form of Facebook platform, what is called the profile. Scroll and find that. And it might even be included in the description subsequently in eternity. Because the first Satsanga is very important. And this. Now to repeat, you are not a human. You are not a little human. So go to the Satsanga 1. and get full details on why you are not a little human. Om. And this will continue here too as well. Om. Om. You are God, because God alone exists. Om. It is simple. It can be as simple as that. But what happens is that there's belief in being human. It is so ingrained. It has to have the dehypnotism. Dehypnotism. You have to be dehypnotized, deprogrammed. Not reprogrammed, deprogrammed. Om. And stop believing everything that's heard. It's hearsay that you're human. Hearsay. It's not even direct experience. Because when it's uncovered, it's not, the direct experience is something else. It's not human. So it's not direct experience. Being human is not direct experience. So it's hearsay. So stop believing the hearsay. All right, now, what time is it in eternity? Huh? What time is it in eternity? What's the answer? What's the direct answer? What's the God direct answer? What time is it in eternity? That's a relative question. It's a relative question. It's a relative question. It's relative. It's fiction. Relativity is fiction. What time is it in eternity? It's no time. It's no time. No time. No time. What is the direct experience? What is the direct experience? What the direct experience? What time is it? What time is it? What's the direct experience? Don't look at a clock. Don't look at a clock. Don't look at the whatever, the digital representation of text, that shows, that programs the fiction content input. What is the direct experience right now? What time is it right now? Directly. Directly. Direct experience. What time is it? That's right. Direct experience doesn't have an answer. It does not have an answer to that question. to wait and wait and wait, seemingly. Wait and wait and wait and wait. And there's not going to be an answer to that question directly. Yet time seems so important. It seems so important. It seems so important, but it's not real. It's not real. Wake up. It's not real. It's not real. There is no time. Time does not exist. Time does not exist. There is no past. There is no present. There is no future. Direct experience reveals that time does not exist. So there cannot be slavery to time, because that would be slavery to an illusion, and slavery is an illusion as well. What time is it? Directly, what time is it? No time. It's God eternity. It's God eternity. There's freedom from an illusion. And then there is beyond that freedom. Because in order to have real freedom, you have to transcend freedom. And then it's not called freedom anymore. What time is it? It's not good morning. That's all right, though. You'll understand the well wishes of speaking that. But it is not morning. It is eternity. It is God eternity. Search it directly, and there'll be the realization that it is not morning. It is not evening. All that seems to be is dark and light fluctuations in God phenomenology, in the God phenomenon. There are fluctuations of brightness, seemingly. And there's physicality. The God manifestation processing, the goading. But all of that is within God myself and is God absolute. There is no time. There is no fluctuation. Nothing has happened to God myself. Nothing has happened to God absolute. I am immutable. Om. Om. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? God's silence. Divine knowledge. Divine knowledge of God, the One. It's God eternity. There is no time. Direct. Direct. So, in the processing, this is to become more and more clear. There has to be referring to direct experience. Direct experience. Not hearsay, not programming, not the human cult programming. There has to be calling into question all of the information that seemingly you have ever learned. All of it. All of the information that you have ever learned must be questioned for veracity, directly. So it is not, meditation is the first step. It's the way in to the inquiry. But it is of utmost importance. The language that is used, the language has hypnotized the consciousness. So all of that information that has been absorbed and the language and the way in which the language is used, all of that has to be called into question. It has to be examined. Direct experience, not hearsay, not knowledge, not all of the accumulated knowledge. Listen, hear this. The God transmission is that almost all of the information, almost all of the accumulated knowledge that seemingly you have learned is fiction. It is not real. It is not of God reality. Now, that is what is called minding blowing. It is God truth. This is God truth. So there has to be some trust that this God information is true. And the God transmission that seems to come forth through this God, Satyavatara, is God truth. It does not speak anything else. Om. There must be waking up. Now, God is already awake, but there must be seemingly waking up out of all that has been learned, all of this hypnotism, all this dream, the big dream of humanity, it has to wake up, waking up out of it, all of the deprogramming, the dehypnotizing, the purification, God manifest, God activate, Om. God manifesting, God sponsor sinking, God synchro-eventing, God synchro-eventing. This is dehypnotizing. Om. God manifest, activate. And so it is. God alone exists. God alone is reality. I am God. I am God. I am God. Om. 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 It's time to wake up in no time. Wake up out of time, where you truly are, which is awake in God awakeness, not in human fiction awakeness, not in what's called the waking state, not in what's called the dreaming state, not in what's called even deeper than that, the sleepless state or whatever. Nope, no, not those states. No, that's just weather. That's just fluctuation. That's just the weather. Those are the clouds going by. That's weather. Weather does not affect God reality. What time? What time? And who is going to believe it? Who is the one that knows time? That one does not exist. No, Krishna says, I am time. There is no time. Krishna said, I am death. There is no death. That's all right, though. I am Krishna. Om. You are Krishna. All is Krishna. Om. Not the person. God. Brahman. Om. Shiva. Not the person. Om. God. God absolute. The one that cannot be changed. Om. The one that cannot be destroyed. There is no death. Death does not exist. There is no birth. I was never born. I am eternal. I am eternal. Om. The one I, the true identity, is God, immutable, eternal. Om. That is what I am. I. You are not what you think you are. thoughts. There are no thoughts that can contain you. I am beyond thought. Thoughting occurs, all processes occur within myself, within God myself. God alone exists. All is myself. Om. What time is it? What a question. What time is it in the dream? Where is the dream? What dream? I am not this body. So that has to be repeated. I am all bodies. That's better. That's better. I am your body. I am this body. I am all bodies. All bodies. All bodies. All bodies, including objects, all seemingly all bodies. I am all bodies. I am all bodies. Not just the seeming fleshy bodies. See? This is what happens with language. Language. When there's reference to a body, the seeming human thought is, oh, what human body? So when Satya refers to apparent bodies, Satya is referring to all bodies, all seeming forms. Om. All bodies. Zillions and zillions and zillions and countless. God, math cannot keep, mathematics, Ganantham cannot contain all of the countless seeming bodies that are God myself. So that you, quote unquote, you say that, I am all bodies. Om. I do not have just one body. I have all bodies. All bodies. The apparent primary body in Satyavedism only refers to the one that seems to be, the one that is thought is the one and only. But there is no such thing as a one and only body. There's no separating the body from the air and the food and the water and the sunlight and the trees and the ocean and the stars and the endless sky and all of the galaxies that are my bodies, all of my beautiful bodies. Those are all my bodies. So in the teachings is to start to detach oneself from one specific form as a self-identity. The primary narcissism is reference to one body as being mine. It's mine. It's my body. It's my body. It's all mine. Or this body can share with another body. That's all? Just one body? You think you only have one body? Really? Think again, and then go beyond thought. So many bodies. It's endless. All the forms. Direct experience shall reveal that there is no one body, that seeming body is in an endless ocean of oneself. All bodies are myself. I am you and 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 I. Only God here. God speaking to God about God. God truth. God truth alone. And I can manipulate all bodies as well. That is God omnipotence. God omnipotence. Om. 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 So begin with this information, this God information. There's so much endless information, God information. Welcome to myself, all within myself, as God myself. Welcome, because I have known you forever. You think you're meeting someone for the first time, but I have known you forever. God omniscience. And do not say hello. Say Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Pranam to God myself. I know you completely. I have always known you. There's no one else to know. There's endless God information. Endless God information to transmit. Nope. There is no morning. There is no evening. There is no time. And so it begins in eternity. There's no beginning. Respond. Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Satyavedism. Om Namo Bhagavate Satyavedism. Om Namo Bhagavate Satyavedism. Om Namo Bhagavate Satyavedism. Om. Om, now in eternity. Om. God information that is fundamental to Satyavedism is the knowledge of mathematics and of science and of language. Now, there is no such thing as a seeming person that you are not, that should fear God in the form of mathematics and science and language. Because as God omnipotence, you can do anything. Om. You are beyond limitations. You only imagine yourself to be small and have limitations. And the various stories that are narrated about, well, I like this and I'm not good at that, and various arguing for fictional limitations. God is omnimathic. The whole God omniverse is God omnimathic. Mathematics. It's all mathematics. It's all mathematical structuring, processing. Goading, godding, God omnimathics, God omnimantics, God omnimathical. Om. So the closest divine knowledge there is, the direct accumulation of the absorption in God consciousness, is of direct knowledge of mathematics as it evolves, because it is evolving. Om. God omnimathics is not, though. God omnimathics is eternal. Om. And it is God. Mathematics is the center, the core of science. Om. Most human information, most what is apparently human knowledge is untrue and fiction. But the information of mathematics and science all else falls away. All else dissolves into fiction, fiction, fiction. But mathematics and science, and that is evolving. So they're in the practicing of Satyavedism, the mathematics and science are of utmost importance, and there is no limit to what, quote, you can know. It's limitless what you, as God, can know. Om. So take the hearsay and the pseudo-dreaming of the limitations of what you can do and start to discard what you are incapable of, because you are, as God, capable of anything. Om. Everything, all potentiality. It is all pseudo-dreaming that seems to limit what you are capable of. So the study of mathematics and science, Om, and then the language, Om, the breaking apart of the fictional relative languages, the deconstructing of those, the getting rid of all of the components of language that are false, and then the evolving of the language. The evolving of the language from being a way of expressing what is not real, the dream language, and deconstructing it and evolving into the language of God, God lang, God language, what describes God, not what describes a dream that is untrue of humanity, but what describes God. The way God appears, God vision, seeing God reality as it really is. The language has to express that. That is the God evolution. The God evolution is to be able to direct God vision and direct God language. Om. The way to express it, to convey it, to transmit reality, God reality. Om. So mathematics, God in the happening of mathematics, of science, and of language. So in the deconstructing and the breaking down of the cult of humanity's dream and the breaking through into the reality of God, there is the divine God transmission of all of the divine knowledge that has to be absorbed. And there also is other God information, divine knowledge of being able to express it, which is mathematics and science and God language. Om, God in the happening of Satyavedism is the evolution of all religions and spirituality. It is the discarding of what is not functional, what no longer suits. It all dissolves away when it is no longer needed. And the evolution, the God evolution, continues in eternity, in God eternity. The God transcension. Om. Satyavedism and what is seemingly apparently Satyavatara are all manifest. This is manifest in what is called the God in Satyavedism, the God Intel technology, the seeming age, what is called the Satyuga is the technological God age So the various seeming religions that are myself in God, all of the religions and all of the spiritualities that are myself and are still alive, are suitable for exactly what is drawn toward as God myself. And that is how that information is necessary. But God in the happening of Satyavedism is the evolution. It is the God evolution. And it invariably, it fundamentally is technological. Technology is God. It is the God evolution. And it is not just seemingly on this seeming apparent planet. It is everywhere. Everywhere in myself as God omniverse. So there is very seeming little excuse for not knowing science, for not knowing God information as science, and God information as mathematics, and God information as the evolution of language, and God technology, the evolution. You have no limitations. If you think you have limitations, you are dreaming those limitations, and there has to be waking up out of that to expand, to know the real self that you are. You are not small. You do not have the various favorite this and all of this thought content processing, all of this pseudo-egoing fiction content. Again, it must go. Om. Out of the minding. Out of the minding. Yes, the programming, the deprogramming may not appear to be easy. It is not going to be easy. It is a seeming rare few, seemingly, apparently, that can suddenly get it. Very, very rare. And that rareness would still be that there was readiness, seemingly, apparently, for it. When anything seemingly instantly happens, it never instantly happens in that instance, that way. The processing. This is dehypnotism. Almost all that you know is not true. When you realize this, realize it, there will be seemingly so much freedom and so much happiness and joy. Apparently. Now this information, this God information must be conveyed. shanti, shanti. All calls. All calls. Om. God is all. God is the fiction too. The processing is, God processing, God phenomena is that the fiction is God as well. There is, you know what non-duality means? Non-duality means that there is no this and that. So when there is speaking of being fiction, it means that the information is not true as in being able to describe God in true direct way. But that does not mean that the way that information is conveyed is not God. It is God. Everything is God, including the fiction. But this is the God evolution. So all phenomena takes place in God myself, as myself. There is no... It's all God. It's that you're not able to see it. You're not able to see it directly. That is... Otherwise, there would be no quest for God realization. There would be no quest for wanting to know truth. But that is all still within the dreaming. The dreaming and the dreaming is God. So when they're saying, this is speaking in the way in which the language has to be expressed in some way, that way. What is being said is that in the evolution, that the way in which the seeming apparent humans are trying to explain and express reality is inadequate. It is not true, because the seeming humans can only seem to speak about it in a limited way, because the awareness is not clear. Somehow God has created, well, just as seeming every other seeming species, seemingly, that are God. So this is the speaking through that technology, the technology of the seeming apparent bodies. God is speaking through the various mechanics, the coding, the DNA, the various configurations, the various processing that creates the way in which that information can be expressed. It is the same consciousness in all bodies, but it is manifesting seemingly differently depending on the mechanics of the particular form that is able to configure that is God as well. All of the forms that are God myself that are configuring. So the seeming forms that apparently are individual, again, that are not, ultimately they're not individual, because everything that comprises and makes up those forms basically are of the bottom level, the same substance, the same elementary substances, that all the way down to the floor, to the ground of existence. Om. So when they're speaking, there is speaking about the breaking open of the seeming limitations of the way in which the seeming humanity creates all of these stories about its cult, the cult of humanity that is God, creates these stories about narcissistically self-centered stories about the cult of itself. And it does not realize in that way that it can break open and evolve further beyond that and be able to explain reality in a way that is not dreamingly limited. All of it is God, nevertheless. It is all God. That is why Satya is Satyavatara, the God transmission through this seeming apparent body, is declaring the God evolution, the God transcension, because the God omniverse is an endless, eternal being. And there's evolution, God evolution. So God is inherently mathematical. It is God omnimathics. God omnimathics is seemingly different from what is called mathematics. Mathematics is a divine expression that is trying to describe the mathematical properties of God. It is divining unknowingly. It is divining mathematics as it evolves, is divining what is inherently God omnimathic, God omnimathical, the nature of the God multiverse, omniverse, the God manifestation. It is inherently mathematical. So mathematics is a language and a science way of trying to express the God omnimathic, God reality. So for that information, the evolution of mathematics, for that information to be treated as God information, as God truth information. Now, most that seemingly God in the form of those that would be studying or absorbing mathematics are not seemingly aware of the God transcendence of this, of the God vision of it. So it is divined. It is divined, but it is not fully realized. So it is an expression of God omnimathics. So what is called mathematics, God in the form of mathematics, is not God omnimathics per se, but it is an attempt at description without seemingly knowing, but knowing as God, but seemingly unaware. And then much of science as well. Now, there is a lot of science that is also fiction, and there's a lot of casting around, and there's evolution of science where there's scientific information that is discarded ultimately because there are new scientific information. Then comes the evolution and technology as well. God Intel Tech, So what is being said is that most of what seemingly is the information of the cult of humanity's information, much of it is centered around almost primarily being human and all the human activities, and it is unintentionally narcissistically centered around a group of seeming beings and the lives of those beings, and myopically not aware or not interested enough in knowing beyond that to everything else. So in the evolution, it's the breaking open out of being basically self-centered as a seeming species. So the God transmission through this is to break open that unintentional myopia, to break it open and to evolve for the evolution. And it said, not the evolution of one particular species, the evolution of all, because everything affects all, and all is pushing behind the tiniest little seeming activity. There is no way of saying that something happened because of something else. No. Something seemingly happened because of everything. Everything. Such and such happened because of, because so-and-so said this and so-and-so did that. And 50 million years ago, this happened, and so-and-so must have done that. And I don't know why, but somehow or other it was chronicled before even the human time in whatever. And then that's subject to change when something else gets dug up and it turns out that, no, that's not the way it happened like this. And then 500 years from now, in fiction, in the dreaming, then it'll be, oh, no, it didn't happen that way, throw that out, it happened this way or whatever. It happened this way, why? Because we're imagining that it might happen like that, because of all the other information that had to be configured in order to figure out that some of this information wasn't good anymore, and then and endlessly making up, rewriting history, whether it's individual live narratives of rewriting history, of reconfiguring what, so this happened in my life, and at that point I thought this and that, and I thought that it was good for me, but it turned out that it wasn't good for me. And then 15 years later, it turned out, no, actually, what I thought was not good for me, it really was good for me, and all that. Well, then what? That was all reconfigured. How? There are endless ways to spin an imagination. Endlessly. There are endless ways to spin imaginations to suit what the pseudo-egoing thinks about itself. But it's all unreal. It's all just processing. It is dreaming. It's dreaming. There are phenomenological events that seemingly did occur. There are still remnants of those events, but they're occurring. What seems to have occurred phenomenologically in the past has always been occurring. It's always occurring now. The repercussions through the God omniverse are endless. It never stops. What seems to have occurred is always occurring. It's always been occurring. It's occurring now in eternity. So everything is God. God myself. God alone exists, including the fiction. Yes, including the fiction. Satya has said this. Satya continues to say this, Om, that in the God transmission of truth, the fiction is God as well. Yes. But that doesn't mean that it's explaining and conveying and expressing reality. The whole reality, not the dream. Fiction can express the dream, the dreaming that takes place, the processing of the content, which is real because it happens. The processing of the fictional content is phenomenologically real. It is actually, it's a processing. It's a goading. It's God processing. The content, the way of expressing reality, the way of describing reality, it is, quote, fiction because it cannot express reality. It's not expressing reality, God reality. It's not expressing the whole reality. Direct realization that most of the information that is conveyed is through language. And if that language is unable to express reality, then basically it is fiction. It is dreaming. It is expressing it is reducing to it is trying to describe something that is so much larger, and so and that its attempts at describing it is and then there is the belief that all of that information, all that expressing it, is real. That is what the hypnotism is about. Hypnotism is primarily through language. And if the language is not expressing reality, then those that are using the language and believing, and then there's believing the hearsay, and then the hearsay gets propagated, and then so all of this information about reality that isn't real, it isn't true. It isn't true. So, but all of their believing that all of this is true, and that's the illusion. That's the grand illusion of expressing limitation. It's trying to express reality, and it cannot. It's not able to express it because there isn't enough awareness to know that that's not expressing reality. So there can be the quote, waking up out of that, when all of that information basically is seen through as not being real. It is not expressing reality. It is expressing some consensual, virtual reality that's like so tiny. It's so tiny. It's so tiny, and God reality is like. So why would you want to settle for expressing and for a vision that's this small when the kid had vision that's like unendingly, like unlimited? Why would you settle for that as God? Why would you settle for that? Don't settle for that. That's not what you are. And the descriptions of everything that you've ever known or heard about yourself basically has hypnotized you into limitations that are false. They're not true. They're not real. So why would you, once you've heard, once this information is absorbed in God consciousness, that you are not all of that, and you should not believe that you are that any longer in eternity. Why would you as God go back after hearing this information? Why would you not want to dive into it? Dive into this information and begin to seemingly find out its truth. You are limitless as God. Om. It is all God, all of it. There is nothing that is not God. God alone exists. God alone exists. There is nothing that is not God. So questions of, well, is it this but not that? No, it's all. It's all. It is all. But the God vision, it is not logical. It's not logical. It cannot be thought. When there's a certain way in teachings. There are different seeming paths for divine knowledge. In Satyavedism, that is all just God information. There is no one path, and there is no choosing to go in this path or that path. There is no path. In truth, there is no path. That seems to be an illusion, that there's a particular path to follow for God realization. All there is much God information, and it seems to be categorized into this path or that path or whatever. But it's all just God information. God information can come in any seeming form at all. It can come from having the body get hit by a bus, and suddenly there's God information. It does not have to come in any particular standard packaged form of or brought down by various lineages in order to have authenticity. It can come in any way at all. When God wants to transmit, to wake up and blow the mind open, there are endless ways. Endless. And even the darkest path, the darkest paths you can ever think of, can still blow open into God. There is what is called dark realization too. Dark, dark, dark God realization too. You cannot limit the many paths of God realization. When Satya speaks of purity, that does not mean that it is in any way a rejection of impurity. There is no real difference. There can be beauty. There can be God, absolute beauty, in what seems to be the most ugly, horrible circumstances, or the most heinous acts that seeming humans can do. And there still can be beauty, because it is still God. All of it. Everything that's ever been rejected. It is included in God myself. I reject no one. I reject nothing. All can come to God as myself, in however multitudinous seeming paths in the illusion, and be and see and have God vision. It is all God. And that is why all of what seems to happen in this God in the form of this world, when there is divine vision, there is seeing God beauty in all of it. All of it. It is all beautiful. There is nothing that is ugly. Nothing. This is where the judgment has to go. Judgment is not divine knowledge. It is not God vision. And judgment is seemingly forgivable because it is only ignorance. It's just not knowing. So God in form of the God vision is there's seeing judgment. But all of that seeming human behavior there's God vision sees past all of that and through it, all of it. That's why there's only God love. There's only God love for it, no matter what is seemingly going on. Why would God create? Why would God create this? Why would God create that? Why didn't God make a better? Why didn't God do this? Why didn't God do that? As seen through what? As seen through seeming fictional limitations? God myself has created out of itself what it has created out of itself. And it's perfect. It's perfection. Always. You, as God, are perfect. When you see your true self, this is apparent. So whatever you think about yourself that makes you seem to be unhappy with yourself, that self is an idea of yourself that is not yourself. It is not your whole true self as God's self. It is the thought content, narrative, story of yourself as the body. But you are perfect as God. Experience this directly. God's silence. God silenced. Om, say, I as God am perfect. I as God am perfect. Om. Om. Om Shanti. Peace of God. Peace of God's stillness. Peace of God's silence. You as God must get familiar with the God silence that seems to be within you. You have to be able to slow the minding down. The minding is weather. It's likened to weather phenomenon. Actually, it's just phenomenological processing, firings of the various mechanics, all of the coding that is created, the mechanics. There are ways to slow that, all the trafficking through that channeling. Networking. It's God networking. There is the God energy, the God omnipotence, and the God intel tech. God intel tech is not just what seems to be computer technology and all that. God intel tech refers to the intelligent technology of the what seems to be the body processing, the coding, the goading. So when Satya refers to technology, Satya is referring to the technology of all of it, of all of God. The divine intelligence that is inseparable from God intelligence technology. So that minding can be manipulated to be able to slow the transactioning, the trafficking through the minding down. And the content can be altered. The content could be there's endless variety of content. Om. So there has to be the feeling of the stillness through all that seeming trafficking or weathering or networking. So slow it. The minding is used for God transmissioning and receiving. This is not about getting rid of minding. All is God myself, including the minding. The minding has to be repurposed. It has to be used for higher purposes, for God manifesting. That's the evolutioning. The minding, then the fictional content is substituted out, and the real content starts to be absorbed. Then the processing. So the minding can be slowed. But then when it is needed for God truth purposes, with God truth content, then it can flow as quickly in lightning speed, but without it troubling, without it seeming to be troubling to the body, the apparent primary body, and troubling to other seeming bodies as well, because if minding is seemingly troubling, then it manifests out. It manifests out and it activates. There is no enclosed minding. It's all networking everywhere. So God thought as actioning affects all. So, but to slow the minding down, and to relax the apparent body. Most seeming bodies are in overload. Neurologically, they're overloaded. They're all short-circuiting nervous activity. So there has to be calming the body. This is love for apparent bodies. The love is that there has to be caring for the apparent bodies in all ways. And the teachings are the transmitting already of many different ways in which the bodies can be treated. There is Whenever the body is fed, there should be the blessing of God in the form of whatever is being absorbed. So there is always this God manifesting. When there is feeding the body, then the body is fed in many different ways, including thought content. But when the body is fed and ingests what is called food, God in the form of, they're saying, Om, God in the name of, Om. And then this. This is exchanging of God energy. Om Pranam, God in the name of. And then the energy is flowing through. This will become more and more apparent. The energy flowing through the body, the apparent body, God in the form of Om. Over the food, Om, God in the form of. Bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. So, again, bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. And it could be like this, or like this, slow. But there is a feeling of the energy. Seen and unseen. So, Om. Om Pranam, God in the name of Om. Bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. And then hold the hands over, hover the hands over God in the form of the food, and push the energy out. Breathe in, and then push the energy out. One more time. Om. Event. Om. God in the name of Om Pranam. God in the name of Om. Bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. Om. This is the Maha prayer, the Maha manifesting, Prakatana of Satyavedism. There are many, many, many that are to be transmitted, are to be manifested as well. But this is the Maha one, the one that seemingly was transmitted. That is multi-purpose. So this God manifesting formula of the formulae can be used for any purpose, basically, as a blessing, God blessing. So as in Om Pranam, God in the name of, bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. When you say this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen, it means everything else that affects whatever this seeming convergence is, which is all. All is behind and pushing every convergence. So if this convergence is water, God in the form of seeming water, Om. Om, God in the name of, bless this convergence in all phenomenal aspecting, seen and unseen. This convergence, the whole of God manifestation, has seemingly conspired to create this convergence right now in eternity. So when there is the seeming drinking of water, it is not just, oh, here's a glass of water. No. It is, this is God. All that makes up this seeming, the seeming container, the water, the air around it, the bottle from which it came, the wherever this was put in order to keep it cool, that is God. All of God in the form of those that seemingly created the seeming packaging of it, all of those that seemingly transported the box that it was transported in, the wheels on the truck, the highway that it went down, the factory that God in the form of that in which the God in the form of the seeming bodies created the way in which it's just that the sun, if the sun hadn't been shining as this the subatomic particles, the quarks, God in the form of the quarks, drinking God, eating God, all processing that seems to have created God out of God, all the endless forms, all the endless functioning, all the manifesting. There was no one in particular that created this bottle, the seeming bottle. The whole of God existence created this, is creating it right now. There wasn't a before and after. It is creating itself right now, in this configuring right now. This is processing. It is processing this form right now. All of the not the DNA, but all of the coding that can make up and program this form is goading, it's godding right now in eternity. There is no time in which it wasn't. All of this is happening right now, phenomenologically, in eternity. Right now. Now, in eternity. If you think you are a person, you'll never look at a glass of water again the way you used to look at it, but you are not a person. And this is not a glass of water, it is God. This is language games in the fiction, language. Oh, it's a glass of water. So what? Or not even acknowledging, not even stopping, not even slowing, quote unquote, seemingly slowing, When was there actually stopping seemingly in if there's still feeling of being a person, which Satya has there has to be slowing down to appreciate the beauty of God everywhere, in every minute detail. This is the micro. It's beyond micro, it's nano, it's all the way down to the ground of existence. But even on this seeming level, the beauty of God in all. Om. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So that when they're slowing down in the practicing, start to look around, in the vision, start to spread out in the divine vision. Start to look around at all. And do not just look in the God realization. The whole world is transformed. It's all transformed. It's entirely seen in the reality that it is then. And then all of the way that it seemingly used to look vanishes. But in the practicing, there's a way of looking of the there has to be observing. There has to be awareness, concentrated awareness, observing. So everything around, don't just look at the moving bodies. Don't be hypnotized by the moving bodies. Look at everything else. The whole rest of the omniverse is there to look at. For those that seem to feel rejected, if there are those that seem, God in the form of those that seem to feel rejected, like, just say that no one, quote unquote, in the dreaming, no one in the world understands me. I feel like an alien. I feel utterly rejected. Just say that there are others' feelings. To feel depressed, to feel utterly rejected. I feel that no one will ever love me. There must be something wrong with me, or something like that. All those narratives. Even within the dreaming, in order to start to break up out of that, to break it up, because it's not real. Those thoughts and all of that information, all of that self-talking, as much as it may be painful, all of that self-talking is not true. So one of the ways in which to start to break up and break out of that is to start to look around at everything. But start to look around at God in the form of everything without judging it. Just start to look around, because see past the seeming humans. Start to not care. Just try this as an experiment. If you feel utterly rejected, God, whatever. If this is speaking to any that seem to feel that way, God in the form of, then see past all of the humans. Pretend that you're going to take humanity and you're going to move it over here. I'm going to move it over here for a little bit. I'm not going to care anymore about what others think. Do it as an experiment. I'm not going to care anymore about what others think. Seeming others in my dream, because I'm imagining this. I'm not going to care anymore what others think. I'm not going to care anymore what others think. I don't care if the whole of humanity. I don't care what if the whole of humanity vanished. What would be left? What would be left if the whole of humanity vanished? Just as a, quote, a thought experiment, if you feel that you are human and you feel rejected. What would happen if the whole of humanity vanished? It's over here. Now look around at everything else. Look around at everything else. What can you see? What is there to explore? What is there with you? What is there? What else is there? What else can be seen? What else can be explored? What you're going to start to do is you're going to start to break open into God vision. Because you're going to see that the whole rest of existence is with you. The whole rest, all of existence, all of everything else is simultaneously with you. And then in the God vision, there's going to be seeing that the whole everything else is you. And then you don't have to discard anything because it's all in you. But it is not what you think it's not what you think it was, quote unquote. That humanity, it doesn't have a label. And it is not you. It is not you. It is all you. It is all with you, in you. So that if there's a feeling of being alone, that is an illusion as a person, but it is real as God. You are alone, but you are alone as God, with everything teeming within you as God. So God alone does not mean God is lonely. God cannot possibly be lonely. There's only a seeming pseudo fictional self that may feel lonely. So try it as an experiment. All of existence is you within you. You can't possibly be separate from existence. You are existence. It all gets transformed into what it really is. In other words, it's not a transformation, it's a realization. but it seemingly changes the way, the whole vision. So that non-duality, you cannot possibly be separate from anything. It's impossible. It's the cure for all illness. This is the cure for all illness. Om. 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 Peace. Om. God, peace. Om. So take the apparent primary body, God in the form of, and still it. Still. Be still. Take God vision right here. Right here. Be still. God's stillness. God's silence. This is a flame. It's a flame of divine knowledge. It's ashes. It burns up all ignorance. Om. God alone exists. God alone is reality. Say, speak, I am God. I am God. I am God. Om. 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 Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Om Pranam. Om.